and didn't even know where I was going, really. I mean, you know, who to sell them to. I just knew that his daughter hauled them down and they would just say wherever he went to with them. And I really don't know what to get for them before that go. I just took their word for it, you know. But anyhow, it was good money even at that. Because money was scarce at that time. I mean, it was scarce. It was hard to make. Well, but like I said, me and her I was making, she was making $2 a day, and I was making $3. Is that right? Yeah. So that was, me and her both were making $5. No. Yeah, $5 a day. And you imagine now I'm trying to live on $5 a day. But at that time, you could buy a nickel loaf of bread, or you could buy a dime-sized loaf. And you could buy bacon. You could buy finest bacon and stuff like that what you ever seen in your life for 15, 20 cents a pound. And fat back, it's high. That's the high. Salt meat's the highest stuff you can buy now, just about. But you buy a half a hog. Well, a hog would bring about $10 a piece. You buy a whole hog for $10 and kill him yourself.
How much was that turtle worth?
Well, the turtle, when I was just telling you about, when I stopped at this place there, and he serves soft cone, he looks at them turtles and, oh, boy, how much you get for them? I said, all I can. He said, how much you want for me? He said, I'm serious. He said, I won't buy them. I said, 50 cents a pound. And he said, unload them rascals, and we unloaded. And then I got to finding out I could get more and more and more. And about the third trip when I got to getting dollars.
This is the fund that you started the business for the trucks.
Yeah. What? Tell me what year. Tell me I stopped at that first truck stop in such and such a year with my first load of loggerheads.
Well, that'd be hard to do.
Approximately.
55.
Right, but tell me like this. The first time I ever had loggerhead turtles in a truck was about 1955, and I didn't know where I was going to sell them.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me something like that.
I had a load of turtles in the truck in about 1955 or 56. Didn't know where I was going to sell them. I was going to Louisiana. You shaking your head.
I was thinking it might be a little later than that.
Well, it's got to coincide with the moving and all that.
Yeah,
you know.
that's fine.
And anyhow, I had this load of turtles in there. I didn't know where I was going to sell them and everything, and I sold my first one for 50 cents. And then I learned if you go to I went to the market or something and offered 30 cents, 35, something like that. And I went on, I wouldn't take it. I went on, I got 60 or 65 cents for them, and I kept on until I got $1 a pound for it. And I held it up on $1 a pound for years. All this happened now in 6 months' time or something like that. I'm talking about from the time that Bitley was here till I was hauling my own turtle, you know. All the turtles were mine, I was hauling them myself in my truck.
Why he know that it's big business with the turtles?
Tell me about how it was Preacher that brought Bitley up here.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't no preacher, he was just called Preacher. He was gonna make a preacher, and he'd get on stump and preach and practice and all this and that and something else. And back then people preached on the street. You go to town to the law, and there'd be 4 or 5 preachers on the street, where they had loaded and unloaded your cotton and this and that and something else, and they'd play a guitar and preach a little bit and this and that and something else. Had a cup there where you put money and drop money, and it was mostly pennies and nickels and stuff like that there. And but he wasn't no preacher, but we called him preacher. His name was Kelly, Preacher Kelly. Lawrence Kelly wasn't that his name? I don't remember. He was preacher's all I ever know of him. Clarence.
Clarence.
His name was Clarence Kelly.
Clarence Kelly. And he brought Bit Lee up here.
Mm-hmm.
And where was Bit Lee selling his turtles? Tell me what he was selling and where he was selling them and what was his name.
I don't know where he was selling. That's what I was telling you about. His daughter, me and Bit would catch him, and his daughter would haul.
Yeah, you told me that. That's right. Okay, gotcha.
For how many years he...
And if he went to the market, about 35 cents would be about what you got for. But when you learned to take them to the restaurants and things like that, that's when the price went up. And then Mississippi turtle would outweigh the Louisiana turtle. Most of the turtle they got down there would be around 35, 40, 45 pounds. About the biggest thing I ever seen down there, and I went to a lot of markets too, was about that size. And there I would have them, it would average 100. On average, they'd average 100 pounds. 90 anyway.
Tell me about if you ever almost got bit or how you tried to avoid being bit by what kind of animal.
No, I never had no trouble with turtle. I had enough sense to know. And if after you handle one 2 or 3 times, or 2 or 3 of them, you'll understand. You know the extent that they can snap, or they can't throw their head back. They can't bite behind themselves. In other words, the old heads so big and heavy, they can't do it like a regular snapping turtle, you know. They can't snap unless it's straight ahead, and then they can't go further.
Tell me how you know where you need to hook them. Tell me that process.
Well, you don't never know where you're going to hook him, but what I always done when the gaff hooked, and I know that she was making one that had a aluminum handle or something, and I didn't tell you, but that won't work. I'll tell you that to start with. What you do is you punch down, usually you'll hit that turtle on the back, because you got a target if he's a good sized turtle, this big wide by that long. I'm talking about 100-pound turtle or so. And the Mississippi turtle up here was fat. Our turtle was a whole lot fatter than my old turtle down there. Now why, I don't know. Louisiana turtles are all little-legged. I mean, they ain't got much meat on them. Mississippi turtle is sticking out around the hook. But anyhow, you hit him on the back, and when you hit him on the back, it don't make no difference which way you go. Keep it on him and push it off of him, and then pull back, and you'll catch him somewhere. It may be in the leg. I have caught him that close to the end of the tail. But you slide, when that thing is a clang, and it won't do that with that aluminum pole like you got built. You need a cypress pole with an iron hook on it, and when you hit it, it sounds like you hit a brickbat. And you push it till it goes off the side of it, and go 12 inches or something like that down, and then come back, pull it against the way you shoved it, hook. And you'll catch them in the leg or in the throat or head, neck, tail, hind leg, and you don't never know where you're gonna get. You'll know that when you get him up. And then if he comes up head first, You pull it, take your gaff pole and pull it to the side of the boat till you can get one of his hind legs or his tail. And then you can turn, a lot of times just drop the gaff pole off in the water, because I ain't got no more use for it. And I don't want him to bite that pole, because he can cut that side of the pole off, but you turn that thing or take a drawing knife and round it off and everything. And but anyhow, you don't never know where you're gonna catch a turtle unless you catch them under a log, like in the winter time, and they rooted up under the log for the winter. Well, you're gonna get him by the tail every time that way, by the tail, tail end. But outside that, if you run him down and catch him, you ain't tell him where you got him at till you get him up and look at him.
Gotcha. All right. Let's think what else we need to talk about. What do you want to talk about?
Who, me?
Yeah, you want to talk about anything?
Not in particular.
Nothing in particular. They never almost bit you because you knew how to handle them. Boy, they sure almost bit me. I did get bit. I got bit 3 times, but never got bit bad. The worst was my finger.
Oh.
35 pounder on my finger. It's on
No,
film.
that was bad, though.
Yeah,
He could have got
on
your
film.
finger. Huh?
It's on film.
You caught it on film.
Yeah, it's on film like that. In 1993, he was on my finger. I had to put a piece of metal in his mouth and pry it off.
All right, let me tell you something you don't know. You don't get this. To make a loggerhead open his mouth, or a snapping turtle, either one, do you know how to do it?
Tell me.
Take a pine straw, or sagebrush straw, any kind of brush, that'll do. Or a pine straw.
Like this.
That right there, I make it any turtle in the world open his mouth wide he can get it. Run it down his nose, and that mouth will pop open like that. Every time. That right there will open.
Tell me how you learned that. Who told you? Tell me.
I learned it. That is a fact. That right there will open, make any turtle. I don't care if you got him in your pen or what, you stick that down his nose. And naturally, he got to be bit something. Make him bite something, then run that down his nose. Because if he ain't done bit something, he'll bite you and you stick it to your nose. He's got to have a hold of something, and then you can go ahead and stick it down his nose. You run that down his nose, and that mouth fly open just as wide as you ever seen, and he don't snap again or nothing. If you only keep his mouth open, just leave a straw in there. And that is a fact. Guarantee it.
You know,
How he learned?
How did you learn? Tell me how you learned that. What did you learn?
those old tails, they
Holding on to a paddle.
bite you. Turn you loose till it thunders.
I've got them loose. They bit hold in the pirouge. I started to get them over the side. And I'd have them by the tail. Always had them by the tail. To drag them over in there, because I had to keep it balanced up. And anyhow, when his head get to the side of the pirouge there, he'd snap at the side of the pirouge. And then punch a hole in it. The beak part would.
Tell me about your pirouges. Who made them?
They made them in Louisiana. I ain't never had to buy one except